In my time, and this was taught to me by Sean Walchef when I first met him, was really, talking and sharing my story. So everything that I do, I write about on LinkedIn. It's the only platform I'm really on. I've dabbled on some of the other platforms. There's not enough time in my day for it. So everything that I learn, the good, the bad, the ugly, I write about on LinkedIn. I don't have many followers, maybe 5,000, 5,500, somewhere around there. But I like sharing what I learned. And the hope is that what I've learned, the things that I see and do, that another restaurant could just kind of step in my shoes from where I am and not buy that tech or not buy that type of thing and just keep moving this whole idea forward.
This episode made possible by Restaurant Systems Pro. With excitement, allow me to introduce to you today's guest, founder of Pizza Roboto, AskLucille, and Mama Ramona's Pizzeria, Andrew Simmons. My man, Andrew, are you feeling unstoppable today?
Feeling very unstoppable. Thank you for having me here.
Psyched to have you here. I have been in California for less than 8 hours, and I'm already recording my second interview. I talked to Sean Walchef, and at the end of that interview, he called you out. We made this happen within hours from him calling you out. So thank you so much for your flexibility and your willingness to jump on this podcast. He had amazing things to say about you. I'm super stoked to dive into the world of franchising and robotics. AI, I know, is something else you're playing with. So I cannot wait to dive into who you are and how you got to where you are today. But let's get that motivational, inspirational, ball rolling with a success quote or a mantra. What do you got for us?
It's going to be something corny, but it's going to be do what you love and the money will follow eventually.
Do what you love and the money will follow eventually. Talk to me about the eventually.
Eventually is really just plugging away until we make something from it.
Has the eventually came for you?
No.
When will it come? Are you getting close, do you think?
It has to happen soon because otherwise my wife says I have to go get a job at Home Depot.
Oh, man. Hey, well, they seem pretty happy over there, I have to say.
They might be. Home Depot. And you get great discounts on hardware and stuff.
Yeah. So before we dive in, I kind of gave the listeners an idea with the introduction, but paint the big picture without getting into any detail, like your assets today. Like what is in your portfolio? Just list it off.
Really, at this point, they're just franchises. Is what I have. I've sold all my restaurants. They're all managed by different people.
How many restaurants did you have? How many different concepts did you have at one point?
We had 4 altogether.
Okay,
Right
sold
now.
those.
Sold those.
Now you have your franchises.
Correct.
And those are
Tempe, Long Beach, Ramona, and Charlotte, North Carolina.
All under the Pizza Roboto brand or AskLucille?
As Mama Ramona's.
Mama Ramona's.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's owned by Pizza Roboto.
Got it.
So it's a holding company.
So Pizza Roboto is your holding company. Pizzeria Mama. Sorry. Keep in mind, I've had zero time to do any research. I drove straight from one interview to the next. So I hope you understand. Mama Ramona's Pizzeria is Ramona's. Thank you. Is the franchise.
Yes.
And what is AskLucille?
AskLucille is a new AI driven delivery platform.
Okay, cool. Thank you for helping me understand that. So now that we know where you are today, where does it make sense to start telling your story?
It started at the beginning.
Where is that?
2015.
Okay. What were you doing before 2015?
So it actually goes back to about 2006.
Okay.
It probably goes back further than that. But 2006 is a good starting. 2006, 2007. At that time, we wanted to have children and couldn't.
Okay.
So we decided to adopt, and we started out with 2. And in that same, keep in mind this all happens within 3 months. We start out with 2, which then becomes 3, which then becomes 6. So we adopted 6 children all at once.
Holy moly!
From somebody locally, through foster adoptions. But that was never the intention. The intention was just to go with 2. And in the midst, a third one was born, Charlie, my youngest. And then they were trying to find placements for the older kids, and we thought, well, we have 3. How bad could 6 be? Okay, 6 is bad.
Yeah.
But so from that point is where I had to essentially quit my job. I worked for Kodak, had to quit my job and kind of help out with the home care.
Okay.
And so that's what I did for about 5 years.
Okay.
Roughly.
And your wife was working. She had we were talking before the interview.
Yeah.
She had a steady 6-figure job at this time.
She had a good job.
Yeah.
So we kind of chose who had the more stable job. I'd always been in sales. She always had that good, office job. We chose me to quit.
Okay. So from 2006 to 2015, you're Mr. Mom.
2006 to 2012, 2013, somewhere in there.
Okay. So the kids grow up.
Kids are growing up, and after 5 years, I'm sick and tired of having young conversations and no actual adult conversations.
Okay. So why restaurants?
I started out working in a small pizzeria a long time ago. So, when I was 17, 18 years old. So I thought, well, how much fun would it be to go work for like a, franchise? So I went to work for Domino's.
Okay.
And with the idea that maybe if I liked it a lot, I might buy the franchise or buy a franchise.
So this is 2012-ish.
Yeah, 2011, 2012.
Got it.
In there. I basically worked there for about 3 months and realized that, owning a franchise probably sucks.
Why? What made you think that?
The franchise pretty much decides everything that you're going to do, what you're going to charge, what it's going to cost you, how often, how late you have to be open. Like with Domino's, whatever time the last person was that came in at the end of the night, the following year you'd have to be open 1 hour extra past that time. So here in Ramona, where we are, small town, sidewalks roll up at 9 o'clock at night. Some guy who's drunk buys a pizza at 11:30 at night. Next year, you have to be open till 12:30. That's one pizza, 2 people work in the restaurant. How's that even, logical?
How is it logical? Well, how do they rationalize it?
They don't. It's a franchise.
Okay.
So I spent about a year here. While I was working here, I was working on an app that kind of helped drivers do a better job of doing deliveries. So like back then, I don't think that there was no Domino's tracker. There was no app out yet, anything like that. But when we take those orders, we're going out to someone's house. We don't know if they have dogs. What does the house look like? Is there lighting? How far away is it? Are they a good tipper?
Right.
Lots of different things you'd want to know before you got there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started building this app. And it used kind of like, shared pooled data from the other drivers in town. And drivers liked using it. And then that franchise got wind of it and basically said, if you release that app, we're going to sue you into the ground.
What was their rationality?
You deliver a pizza regardless of how much you're going to get tipped. I mean, your job is just to deliver that pizza, period.
Yeah. You know what's interesting? I've always thought, recently I've had this thought, I'm not a huge fan of the way the internet is rolling out. I feel like it exploits the restaurant industry. You have all these ancillary satellite businesses that are spun out of the restaurant industry, and the restaurant industry is rarely the beneficiary of all those satellite what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of the word, but you know what I'm saying. Like, it's like if the restaurant industry didn't exist, these opportunities wouldn't
right.
exist for these satellite.
Right.
Ancillary was the word I was looking for. Industries, and there's like all these like the Yelps of the world where you have to rate and rank restaurants. Why hasn't anybody created an app where restaurants can rank and rate consumers and guests?
That would be awesome.
Wouldn't that be the
Wouldn't
best?
That be awesome?
Where
yeah.
like you can just where we can.
Here's your troll award.
Dude,
you got.
There are so many people who just exploit restaurants. And
yes.
It's getting to the point where it's so easy to display or to really like just take advantage of restaurants.
Yeah.
Like you can get food for free. There's tricks of the trade out there, and people just are constantly exploiting and ripping off restaurants.
And people have more power than I think they even know. Like I have a great story. A couple weeks ago, maybe about a month ago, somebody called and they wanted to order like a medium pizza with 15 toppings on top of it. So every topping is $2-3 that you get on there. Pretty soon you're about $67 for the pie. And we're like, we're not going to make this pie. It doesn't make sense. It's $67. We recommend the Works Pizza. You can get everything you want, and it's $24.
Right.
Customer's like, thank you. This is great. Sunday night. She gets the pizza. She goes home. She loves it. She goes onto Facebook and she says, I was going to buy a pizza and they wanted to charge me $67 for the pizza. And everybody jumped. All the trolls jumped out. They're like, oh my God, he's price gouging. He's ripping off customers. Well, she never bought the pizza.
Right.
We talked her out of it. That impacted my business for 3 days.
Yeah. And I think, and I've made the statement, I made it before. I think, as somebody who's now spoken over nearly 1,100 interviews, right? I've identified, like, what I'm trying to figure out is, like, what's broken with the industry and what can we do to, like, be more mindful, more intentional going forward, more conscious going forward. And I think that one of the biggest issues with the industry is the consumer. It's just like they aren't educated. They don't understand what it costs to run a business. And they think by you just trying to survive and make a profit, you're being greedy. And it's just like, I don't think you understand how this works. Like, why shouldn't I profit?
Right.
That's not a horrible thing. But anyway, I don't mean to go on any further of a rant, but back to your story. So you think of creating this app where you can help you basically rate or rank the consumer. I think it's genius.
Yeah.
I mean,
so
you should bring that back, but just do it for all
there you
all
go.
guests.
Yeah. So from there, I mean, you could choose. You get a triple from your boss or the restaurant, and then you'd say, oh, this guy tips $6 and this guy tips $2. $6 guy is way out there. I could drop the other 2 pizzas off on the way, but he pays better. I'm going to give him his pizza super hot. They say, no, you deliver the pizza. Doesn't matter the order. Doesn't matter the value. You just deliver the pizza.
I mean, I get where they're coming from. I understand from an owner perspective. I get that. Like, a customer's a customer.
Customer's a customer.
And that's probably the right mindset to have for the record.
Right. But at the same time, we want to know, like, what does the house look like? What dangers am I walking into? Do they have a dog? Is it a meth house?
Right.
Not that it happens up here. We have no meth. But
so you said if they said if you launch this, we're going to sue you.
We're going to sue you into the ground.
Okay.
So I pivot, I quit, and I launched Orange Crate, which was a restaurant delivery service for restaurants in Ramona, so rural areas. Long before DoorDash, Uber, came here. And I went out to the restaurants and I said, right now your only choices to get food delivered is Chinese and pizza. I'm going to bring you something else that delivers for everybody. And everybody up here says, haha, no one's going to pay extra to have the food delivered.
Right. This is how many years before Uber Eats and DoorDash?
Well, DoorDash and Uber are around somewhere. They're just not in the rural areas. They're in the large metropolitans. So this is 2015.
Got it.
October 2015.
Got it.
So we launched Orange Crate. Myself and one partner, and we sign up or add menus from there's 44 restaurants in Ramona. We probably got 35 of the restaurants on board.
Okay. And how's it going? What was the challenges in the
challenges then was really about educating the customer. Like we are going to deliver that food. The food is going to cost you more money than if you go to the restaurant, but you're not going to have to go get the food. We're going to bring the food to you.
We're charging you a convenience fee.
We're charging a convenience fee. We're not hitting the restaurants for that 30% commission that Uber and DoorDash still today take now.
Okay. I'm trying to log into your LinkedIn right now to look at your timeline to see if this is on there. And of course, LinkedIn is making me enter a verification code being sent to my phone, which is in my truck. So after Orange Cart, like how long?
Orange Crate.
Orange Crate. Thank you. This is why I wanted to pull up LinkedIn.
Yeah.
How long did that go before you had to like tie it up?
So we did Orange Crate through. I actually sold it in 2022, but we ran it for about 7 years, and we expanded outside of Ramona. We went into small rural towns. I looked for people who were kind of like me, driven, that wanted to run their own business, but really had no money. So we would essentially fund it for you, set you up on the platform, show you how to do it, and then split the profits with you in each location. And we kind of grew. We went to Kokomo, Indiana. We were in Elizabeth City. We were in Las Cruces, New Mexico, and then just a host of other cities, 42 cities around the country.
And you had this until 2022.
Yeah, we sold. Yeah, I sold off my share in 2022.
Okay, and then
2023.
So while you're doing all this, you're also opening restaurants.
So December of 2019, one of the restaurants that we're doing deliveries for up here decides that she's going to close. She's been doing it for too long, 40 years. She wants out of the business. She's going to shut it down and walk away. And my partner Wayne calls and says, hey, there's this restaurant, she's going to shut it down. We should buy it.
What was the rationality?
We were making good money. And
from the Orange Cart?
From Orange Crate.
Great, thank you. As soon as I said it, I was like, that wasn't right.
Yeah, from Orange Crate. So we thought we're making great money. it would be fun from the restaurant to own a restaurant to see what that's like. The things that we're selling and telling the restaurant is really good for them. Is it really good for them? Let's buy a restaurant and let's find out.
What was that like?
Stupid.
So your first time restaurateur in 2019.
Well, so we negotiated in December 2019. We signed it December 30th. Okay. We opened for business January 10th. It was called Mama Rose's before.
Okay.
Old Italian couple that owned it. They said, what are you going to call it? I'm like, well, Mama Rose's. And they're like, you're not Italian. You're Jewish. You can't use our name. And I said, oh, okay. So what's close to me like family? And I chose Ramona. Had to do it real quick. So Mama Rose and Mama Ramona sounds pretty close.
Ramona, is that close to you and family, or is it because it's the city's Ramona?
Just because I've lived here forever.
Okay, gotcha.
You know.
Gotcha.
So.
Well, I mean, I feel like that's actually not a horrible business model. Like a pizzeria is not a horrible business model.
It's not a bad model.
Well, going into the pandemic is where I'm going with this.
Oh, yeah.
Pizza
so we're getting to that part.
Yeah.
So
keep going.
January 10th, we open. By January 30th, we're shut down by the pandemic.
Jesus.
We bought a month before COVID hit. You know, and there's all this stuff going on, but no one's expecting, like,
do you think they knew what was going on? Do you think they were paying attention to the outbreak?
No, she wasn't.
There was stuff stirring around this time.
There was stuff stirring, but this owner was really not, you know, I mean, they were still using an old cash register. They were not tied into tech. They were not really anything. And we thought, well, you know, we know tech. We know delivery. She doesn't do much delivery, and it's pizza. And that's great money. The things that we didn't know that we learned, like, it's a 5,000 square foot building, so it's $5,000 a month for the rent. You know, it's got a lot of dining, a lot of people coming in, not a lot of takeout, not a lot of delivery because she wasn't doing delivery. We thought we could change that, and then COVID hit, and then the restaurant shutdown hit, and then suddenly, you know, our doors are closed.
Was it a profitable business? Were they doing good money? Were they in the black?
They were in the black based upon the way that they were doing business, which, if you did business the right way, was not in the black. I.e., you have a cash register and you're taking in your sales that way. So I think that the way they chose to, like, how they pay sales tax would almost be akin to throwing the money in the air, and whatever the government grabbed is theirs, and whatever falls to the ground you keep.
Okay.
So, you know, I don't think they're paying full sales tax. Most of the employees are family, so they're, you know,
labor costs are low.
Their costs are low. So, and then the rent, because they were family, the rent to them was only $1,600 a month. So
family being
everything was cheap.
They leased from family members.
Correct. So the building was owned by one guy, the brother, and then the other brother built the restaurant, but he ended up dying.
Oh, okay.
So when the brother died, he left it to not the family, but to the goddaughter.
Okay.
And so the goddaughter owned it and ran it for 5 years.
Got it. And then she was the one that wanted to sell.
She wanted to sell. She got out. So she's paying $1,600 a month. We buy the restaurant.
Almost quad or triple your rent.
Which we didn't know at the time.
Okay.
Like, just here's your rent. Here's what this is going to cost you. And then when we buy we buy the restaurant, well, she had told the landlord she was going to leave. The landlord said, leave everything there. I'll sell it for you later, and, you know, I'll send you a check for $20,000. And so she's like, okay, that sounds good. And then I convince her that I want to buy it. And so she sells it to me instead. Well, in the meantime, the landlord, knowing he had this restaurant to sell, and a friend of the family, went and sold the restaurant to somebody else.
So I thought you purchased the brand.
I did. I purchased the brand. I purchased the space. I purchased everything that came with it. But the landlord had other plans for the space. He just didn't share it with her, so she had no idea. She thought she's walking away. She's done. I come in with an offer. I buy it. You know, money changes hands, sign the contract, and then the landlord finds out that he doesn't actually have something to sell. So he's like, well, you know, you're only paying $1,600 a month rent, so we're going to raise the rent. I'm like, okay, so you're like, what, $3,000, $2,000? You know, we're a block off Main Street. There's not a lot of traffic. You know, come back and they say it's going to be $5,000 a month. I'm like, oh, great. So it's $5,000. you're going to take the building as is. We're not going to fix anything. They never, so you're going to do all the repairs yourself. If it's under the ground, if it's above the ground, if it's in the restaurant, it's all on you. We're brand new. We've never owned a restaurant.
I was going to say, hindsight being 20/20, is that a good deal?
It was a bad deal.
Yeah.
Super bad deal.
What would you do differently knowing what you know today?
I probably would have involved somebody that knew something about the leases up here in Ramona, about the buildings. And I probably would have moved it as soon as I could to another location and not sign such a long lease on it. So we left that building in November of 2023.
Yeah.
And at this point, we're paying between utilities, which have gone up over the years, and the rent, we're paying close to $11,000 a month. The other thing is dine-in was huge pre-COVID. Her business was coming in from dine-in. COVID hit. We're closed down. We survived. We made like 6,000 pizza kits over the summer. It's just, and that's how we survived and kept the employees employed. When we were allowed to reopen, dine-in never came back. So now I've got a 5,000 square foot space, and we're really only using like 1,000 square feet of it.
Did you improve total revenue from that?
We improved total revenue from where she was.
How did you do that? Was it just by improving your delivery game?
100% doing delivery, a lot of delivery.
What did you do to create more awareness about the delivery?
A lot of advertising. By now we're about 5 years old within the community, so they all know who Orange Crate is. So we're using our existing customer list to market to all these people and to sell it. And there's a little bit of a sales bump that happens up here, and maybe it's small towns, maybe it's always, I don't know, but as soon as we bought it, and once we got through COVID or got kind of around COVID, our sales we kind of saw like a 2 or 3 month bump in sales that kind of helped move us forward. So like there's a brand new owner in the restaurant, so therefore we should try it out again if we haven't used it in a while.
What up, unstoppable restaurant owners and operators? We have to interrupt today's video to let you know that Restaurant Unstoppable and Restaurant Systems Pro, we're taking our relationship to the next level. Beginning in July of 2024, Fred Langley, CEO of Restaurant Systems Pro, is making himself available once a week in Restaurant Unstoppable Network to answer all of your restaurant systems questions, whether it's the profit margins. He will look at your P&L. Bring your P&L. He will take a look at that. He will dissect it. He will help you find your profit, whether that be through budgeting, inventory management, costing recipe cards, labor, checklists, you name it. He is a master on restaurant systems, and he's making himself available to you. Fred Langley and Restaurant Systems Pro started as a consulting firm, and for over 16 years, they've been helping their clients increase their profit by 10% or more. What are you waiting for? Click the link below to join our Facebook group, Restaurant Unstoppable Network.
If anything, during the early, because apparently, you continue to grow the brand, right?
Correct.
So what were like the points of evolution from you looking back from 2019 to only 5 years really later?
So we kind of just, we grew the brand. We did a lot of deliveries, but we didn't really do much more. Like my partner was what I would call the CNO. He's the Chief No Officer.
Okay.
Every time I say, we need to fix this, we need to buy something new, we need to upgrade this. No, we're not spending any more on this restaurant.
So really your CFO, more or less, the budget guy.
Yeah, but really just the no spend guy at all whatsoever. So about maybe like June or July of 2022, I think it was, I go to place an order for some goods and for some supplies from Cisco or somewhere. And they're like, we'd love to ship it to you, but you haven't paid your bill. And I'm like, what do you mean? We always pay our bills on time. It's never been an issue. And they're like, you owe us $18,000.
Jesus.
And I'm like, what the hell's going on here? So I go back to my partner and I'm like, hey, they're saying we owe money. He goes, yeah, we do. And I'm like, well, why do we owe this money? He goes, because I stopped paying the bill. I'm like, well, why did you stop paying the bill? Well, because I wanted to shut down the restaurant, and the only way to do it, I felt, was if I ran up the bill so that we couldn't get out of it, and we'd have to shut it down, and then we can be rid of this effing restaurant. And I'm like, so you hate the restaurant, which you never brought up at all. He goes, yeah, I don't like the restaurant. So
this is the guy that you have, your partner in Orange Crate.
Yes.
Whose original idea was to buy
the restaurant.
And
now he hates it.
behind your back, sabotaging the restaurant.
Yep.
Are you the operational partner? Are you in the
I'm
restaurant?
the operational guy.
Wow.
So
Are you still partners today?
no,
Wow.
We're
Okay,
done.
I'm good.
we're done.
I'm happy to hear
So
that.
yeah, took me a little while, but so in July that year 2022, I basically said, okay, fine. You don't like the restaurant, I'll give you $1 for your share. I'll cover the
And you can be rid of this
$18,000.
effing restaurant that you want nothing
That's
to
right.
do
You
with.
have nothing to do with it. I'll take over the restaurant. I'll pay off the bills, and I'll start doing what I want to do with the restaurant, which is start to upgrade it and fix it up. And he's like, fine, it's yours. Dollar changes hands. We're done. Turns out it wasn't really $18,000. It was closer to about $27,000 once I got done. All these little bills that didn't get paid. And at that point, I'm just like, as soon as I can get rid of him and this side here, we're also done. I sold it. I sold my share of Orange Crate in February of 2023.
Okay, so
recently.
last year.
So-
Okay, so up to this point, you have Orange Crate, you have the original Mama's in Ramona,
Right.
and how many other locations have you opened?
None at this point.
Okay, so
None
since
at that point. So it's just those two. And then I also did a stint for like 5 years running the largest national organization of independent delivery fleets out there. So all the people that were doing Uber and DoorDash type work, like Orange Crate was, across the country, who've been doing it for longer than, Uber and DoorDash ever were. Some of our members were like since 1988.
So what was different about DoorDash and Uber Eats that made them scale so fast? Was it because
Money.
Was it
Money.
the technology associated
No.
with it? The apps that
Money.
they built? Okay.
Money.
Just marketing?
They don't have to make a profit. So
are they making a profit yet? I think they
No.
just recently started turning
I don't
a
think they're
profit.
turning a profit.
Oh, really?
I think it's 2035 is when they're expected to start turning a profit.
Is their asset the data that they're collecting? Is that really
the
what
data's big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, do you mind me asking? Like, did you do well sharing your shares of Orange Crate? Is that what helped you pay off your debt? Did you pay it off?
The debt.
Yeah.
We didn't make. I mean, I made a good salary out of Orange Crate, probably about $60,000-$70,000 a year.
It's enough to live on with
Enough to
part
live
time
on.
with a
Yeah. But
family partner.
but where that restaurant, where all the improvements, all the changes to the restaurant came from, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, and all the other stocks that I owned at the time, that I ended up essentially liquidating over time, so that I could keep feeding it back into the
Those are some
restaurant.
great companies to have stock in. When did you start playing the stock game?
Earlier,
Okay.
I think I paid $44 for Tesla shares.
Wow.
So
That's awesome. Good
it
for
hurt.
you.
It hurt selling it.
I bet. But were you able to get out of were you able to eliminate the debt?
Oh yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah.
And then
I
this
dumped
is
probably about $400,000 into the restaurant.
so. What
altogether.
was the internal dialogue? What were you thinking internally that makes you say, "I want to get out of the Orange Crate"? Sorry, out of the Orange Crate, and go all in on restaurants. Why did you think that was the answer in 2023?
Because I felt like I've always been kind of this first adopter, early adopter kind of tech guy. Like when we first had the first vision of doing digital printing in 1998, 1999, I bought my first one and then second digital press from Xerox. Like they were like $400,000, $500,000 each, and I started doing digital printing. And everybody said, that's the dumbest investment I've ever seen. There's no future in digital print. Kodak, says we don't see a future in digital print, whatever.
Okay.
Yeah. So, 2006, 2007 is during the whole dot-com bubble is when suddenly, digital printing was all the rage. By then I was already out of it. So I was printing and learning and doing tech and buying all that stuff. Eventually I ended up selling that company and going to work for Kodak and, selling $3 million digital presses instead.
Okay.
So anyway, so looking at food, looking at the way it's made, looking at the ever rising costs, labor's going up. At some point in there, Governor Newsom says we're going to, in 2024, we're going to have wages that are $20 an hour for all fast food. I mean, that's not just, fast food, 60 units or more in California. And those are the only ones that are affected by $20 an hour. It's not. It's every single restaurant. Because I can go to Jack in the Box and make $20 an hour.
Yeah, you have to
So
compete with the
therefore,
wage.
I have to compete with that wage. So now
Yeah.
all my wages are going up, and the employees are not the best anymore. 5 minutes before your 5 o'clock shift at the restaurant or your 4 o'clock shift, and they're like, yeah, there's a cool party I'm going to go to tonight, so I'm not going to be in, and if you want me to come in on Monday, I will, but it doesn't really matter, so this whole mentality of when I'm going to show up, when I'm going to come in, if I'm going to come in, impacts your ability to make pizza and sell food. Now your cook is gone, or your front counter person's gone. Now I'm doing it. So I started thinking about, how do you automate it? How do you make, like one person makes, those pies, or one person, gets food out to the table. Out to the table.
So, okay. So you're saying, there's clear trends. The cost of the operational expenses are increasing. Labor cost is going up. Cost of goods is going up. The only way to keep pizza even close to what it was in the past is by finding ways to automate this process. Right. And you're thinking to yourself, I'm going to go all in on trying to develop the most affordable pizza by streamlining process.
Right.
Where did you start looking? What did that look like?
Just started doing research, research on the web, see what was out there, see who was doing it, and really looking to do it off the shelf. So not go out and build the arm that does it or figure out the tech that makes it, but what's available off the shelf that any restaurant can plug into and start using.
What'd you find?
I found the Picnic.
What's that?
It's a pizza making station that you put the crust, the pie, into the machine. The camera measures the size of the pizza. It applies the sauce, precise cheese, slices, each log of the pepperoni, slices it, drops it on there, can add a couple toppings, and spits out the pizza at the time about, I think, 65 or 75 pies per hour. Maybe it's 100. Might be 100. I order one, and they ship it in. I think it arrives around Thanksgiving.
How many different people are using this pizza robot at this point that you know of?
That I know of? Yeah. Probably about a dozen people. They're mostly institutional buyers getting it. I don't know a lot of individual mom and pop type pizzerias. But I ran into another problem in bringing automation and robots to Ramona, and it's a small town. Everybody talks, and nobody likes robots.
Right. So when did that become an issue for you? Like out of the gates?
Almost immediately.
So this is 2023. You invest in the Pizza Picnic.
Correct.
Your challenges were...
And a food service robot.
2023 Pizza Picnic. The food service robot, is that like the delivery cart thing that just kind of roams around? Which one did you go with? Bear?
Kenix.
Okay, so Pizza Robot, Picnic, and Kenix. People start talking. What are they saying about you?
Stealing jobs from people. We're not going to support your restaurant. You're bringing automation in. You should give those jobs to us. We want those jobs. Now, mind you, they don't show up, but we want you to do it. So there's a big backlash in the community about bringing automation in.
Okay. This wasn't that long ago. So when did you take over and start implementing the robotic pizza?
November 2022.
Oh, okay. So I thought you said it was 23.
Sorry.
So, so basically about a year and 8 months ago. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
Year and 8 months ago. Has it turned? Has it shifted? Or is this kind of like, was it like okay.
No. So we had the Picnic for about a year, I think. We sent it back in November of 2023. But we sent it back because the health department wouldn't allow us to operate it.
Okay. Well, before we go into a year later, what were some of the challenges of using a robotic pizza maker that you weren't?
Trying to get your employees to actually use it is an issue.
Okay.
And really having enough volume at any given time to be running it consistently. So like, we make about 100, 150 pies in like this 2-hour period, but this thing can churn out 100 pies an hour. So it's like a stop, start. So you're not really getting the full capacity out of it. We probably bought it a little prematurely. We didn't have enough volume to run in the equipment, but the equipment, has issues too. So if it jams, it's like a shutdown, reboot type of thing that goes on with it. So, but I would say probably we just, I like to buy really cool tech, but we may not have enough volume for that really cool tech right off the bat.
Okay, so do you mind me asking what this investment was?
It was about $5,000 a month.
$5,000 a month. And how long were you planning on paying it back?
It was a RaaS, so it's robotics as a service, so it's just $5,000 a month.
Okay, so you never owned the robot.
You never owned it.
Renting it.
Correct.
Kind of like those ice machines that are out there. Like
right.
You just pay your monthly fee, and then they come, they do maintenance.
They come, they service it. They they handle it for you.
That's a decent model, actually.
Yeah.
So
not a lot of places do it though. Like even they dropped it from their offering, and now they just lease the equipment.
I'm playing some music, or I found a video of the pizza robot. So if you hear music come over, I apologize in advance. I'm trying to make sure my computer's muted, but I just want to see how this thing works. Can you explain it to me while I'm trying to find this video?
So
like how it actually works, like the robot
so
itself.
So I use a large dough press. I prefer Coupon as an example, or Capone. I don't know how they pronounce it. Cuppone. It presses the dough every 1.4 seconds. Gives me a 12-inch blank, basically.
Got it.
I take the blank, I put it on a pan, a camera up above it, reads the size, says, okay, it's a 12-inch pie. I say I want it to be cheese or pepperoni or cheese pepperoni in a mixture, whatever it's going to be. And then it runs through, it auto sauces. So a little hand comes out, arm, sauces it up. Then the next step, it grinds cheese, or not grinds, but rotors cheese. It drops it across on the pie. So we've got cheese and the sauce now. And then it comes here to the slicer, and there's a log, and it slices each piece, drops it down on top of the pie, and now we've got this finished pizza ready to go. So from there, I can either take it, I can pop it in the oven, or I can make it like a future take and bake and stick it up on the shelf. But
so basically, you're taking the builder out of the element, and you only
correct.
The only person you have to have there is watching the oven.
Correct.
It doesn't bake the pizza. It just makes the pizza.
Doesn't make it at all, but it does give you exactly you're always going to have exactly 6.5 ounces of cheese.
So
you're always going to have exactly 4 ounces of sauce, instead of when you get a complaint from someone that my pie was too cheesy, or my pie didn't have enough cheese. I could tell you which person made your pizza on my prep line based upon the size of their hands. Too much cheese is someone with a big hand. Someone with little tiny hands, they're not adding enough.
Don't have that problem with this.
Don't have that problem. Every pizza comes out consistently the same. Pops out the back, then it goes into the oven.
I'm still looking at videos of this thing. So, okay. So, what were you limited by, customization?
So I could do. So there's like 3 bins. One bin holds sauce.
Yeah.
One bin holds cheese. Then there's a slicer, and then there's one more bin over here that can do a mixture of, diced onions and diced, bell pepper, for example.
Okay.
And then that'll add to it. Every time it goes through another step, it slows it down. So if you're getting 150 here and you're adding everything that you can through it, you're getting maybe 85 at the end, because it basically runs a little slower each time.
Got it.
If I just do cheese and maybe pepperoni, or just sauce and cheese, I can get 135 an hour out of the machine.
So you look at your marketing mix, your menu mix, and you're saying, what do we sell the most of? Let's have a focus on the highest volume, cheese and pepperoni.
Right.
If we can get that done, anything else that people want, we can just add that before it goes into the oven.
Right.
And typically when you're building a pizza, you always start with pepperoni because it's the thing that's
44% of your order, about roughly 40% of your orders are cheese and pepperoni.
Yeah, and typically when you're building a pizza, you start with the flat round things, and then you build the lumpy clumpy things at the top of the flat round things.
Right.
It just works nice.
Yeah.
So why weren't the employees using it? What was their resistance early on?
Just a fear of something new, It's easier for them to take what they know, which is the cooks. Take the pie, stretch it, takes 4 minutes, drop the sauce, drop the cheese on, and they're done. But to sit there and have to mess with a piece of equipment it's easier for someone just to do what they want than it is to go to the machine and have the machine make it. There's almost like extra steps you have to do, and it's just something different. So my son Mariano would run the equipment, but I couldn't get my cooks to run the equipment.
Got it.
So, but we tried, and in that process, we created something called the pizza subscription, the pizza passport. So this would be November 2022, whenever Black Friday was in there. I announced that we were going to sell a 52-week subscription for pizza. So once a week, you could come and get a 12-inch cheese or pepperoni pizza for $99. And then on Black Friday, I released it as an offer. I figured if we had enough consistent people coming in to get their free pizza every week, I'd have enough volume to run on the picnic as we go. We sold $30,000 worth of pizza in 24 hours. So you're charging
you said $99.
$99.
You get a pizza every month.
Every week.
Every week. One
every
free
week.
pizza every
52
week.
52 pizzas.
52 pizzas a year.
A year.
$99.
Our cost to manufacture, $2.54 per pizza.
Okay. How many people ended up buying that?
300.
300. So 300 times 99. I'm horrible at math. Can we just do 300?
30,000.
30,000. So $30,000. You get cash, liquid up front.
Yep.
And how long did it take you to sell 300 subscriptions?
24 hours.
Wow. And did you cap it off at 300?
Pretty much. We wanted to see how that would go in terms of volume.
So you got liquid, $30,000. What's the power of that?
It gives us a lot of options. It gives us it allows me to buy enough cheese each week. I know exactly what I'm going to need every week. It gives me cash, which restaurants don't have a lot of cash.
You can budget. You can say
you can budget. Yeah. This is what we have.
Yeah.
Now I will say that since then there's another pizzeria that borrowed my idea, or I should say a restaurant consultant borrowed my idea. Took it to another pizzeria.
No offense. I hope a lot of other people borrow your idea after this conversation.
They should, because after you hear this, they, last year about this time, announced the same program. Now, we've since moved it from $99 to $189. We call it the Pizza Passport. Somebody borrowed the idea, shared it with another 3-unit pizzeria, and they said, for 1 week only, we're going to sell this passport. It's $189. Guess how many they sold?
I don't know.
5,871 subscriptions in a 1 week period.
And how much were they charging that for?
$189.
So almost doubled what you were charging.
Right. Can you do the math in your head on that?
No, I'm horrible at math. There's a reason why I'm not.
$1.1 million.
But I mean, I love this. I really hope listeners are paying attention that there is something to be said about challenging the status quo on the traditional business model that we currently use, which is, we invest in all the assets and whatever's left over, we keep. Like, you can pre-sell. There's membership models. There's like subscription models or whatever. If you can get liquid, it helps so much.
Right. So they went from what I've heard, they went from having one location they thought they were going to have to close to having enough money to pay off their loans and bolster up that third location in that. Now, the cool thing about the subscription is it works just like a gym membership. When someone buys that gym membership on January 2nd or, your New Year's resolution, everyone's at the gym for the first 3 months.
Right, and then they forget about it.
And then they start going less. And then maybe they bump up a little bit in the spring. We got summer, beaches, swimming pools, dies off again, and then it's time to renew. So you use it just a few more times. So we saw about a 44% redemption rate for the year on those pies. So we're selling for that first year $99. So they're only coming in 23 times to get that subscription. The rest of the time, because I love pizza, you love pizza. Maybe you don't love pizza, but
you're going to eat it every week.
Not everyone's going to eat it every week.
Right.
I might eat every week. Some people come in every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, once a month. It's
You
still
on
a good
vacation.
deal. It's still a great deal at $99, or even at $189. It's a great deal. So they buy the subscription, they redeem it less often, So if my cost to produce a pizza is $2.54, and I'm only making 23 pizzas, let's call it $3, easy to round up. That's $66. I've made a $33 profit on it, roughly. If I'm selling $189, I've made a $133 profit on it.
Yeah, the concept doing 189. How many locations did they have?
3
locations. Have they scaled since?
They're still at 3 locations now.
Do you know what they did differently to sell more subscriptions? Was it just
customer list?
Okay, so they had a more.
They
of
had
a
a
presence.
more robust customer list, and I think they tapped into like the University of whatever's down there, Houston maybe.
Okay, so this is in Texas.
Texas.
Got it. What do we need to know in terms of like how do you accept payment? Were they paying? Were you just creating a ticket on your POS?
Credit card? Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you have like a menu item that is like annual subscription. You take their credit card and you charge them once for the year, and then
Correct.
how do you manage that?
So
is it just a list?
We've been using a list up until now. We've recently partnered with a company called Hang.com.
Okay.
And Hang.com will manage those subscriptions for us.
So what's unique about Hang.com that makes them uniquely qualified to handle a membership model like this?
They manage the overall subscription, so like once a week it pops up with the coupon code so they can use it. So instead of us going down the list and looking at the list to see whether it's someone that actually has the subscription, they can just show the code. We scan the code and it auto deducts it from.
So the guest walks in, they say,
Correct.
I would like to redeem my weekly pizza.
Right.
And you say, let me see your code. You're using what POS?
Toast.
So do you have like a scanner, like a little scanner gun, or how are you scanning?
No, we just see it and scan it. You could with a scanner gun, you could.
Okay.
But for up here we only have about 300 subscribers.
Okay.
For there, they would need to have something because you're
manage
talking 5,000 redemptions, up to 5,000 redemptions a week.
So they open their app, you see that they have their Hang code.
Mm-hmm.
And then you ring in the pizza. Just like, would you do it straight through like a normal pizza, or would you go through a separate?
No, we
in
do.
Terms of like,
We do
your sales
encourage
and
them to go in online and just use it that way to redeem it.
stuff. Okay. Is there a special integration with Hang and Toast?
They're already fully integrated.
Okay. So help me understand the integration, I guess. Is it just like why? How is it like? I'm trying to think about like your actual costs because you're not making the same amount of profit on that membership than you are.
No, but they have a really cool loyalty program
Okay.
that kind of ties into it, where they use a thing called the mystery box. So for every time you transact with that order and you buy something extra, it adds more points that accumulate to a prize that they can get. So it might be like, after 15 points you get a free pizza, but maybe after 400 points you get build your own pizza, name it, and we'll add it to the menu.
Okay. So this wasn't that long ago. This is only 2000. This is all happening around between 2002 and 2003.
Yeah. So for 2022 to 2023, we did it all manually. We did it off of sheets of paper.
Okay.
As we look to open up more locations, we kind of really need to have something more automated. For us right now, for those 300 folks, we pretty much know who comes in and who comes out, so you essentially get to know those customers and build a further, deeper relationship with them because they're coming in every week or every other week.
Got it. So when did you open the second location, and where was that?
The second location we opened up in Oceanside.
Where is that relative to where we are?
It's about 45 minutes that way.
So on the coast?
On the coast.
Okay.
Not a great location. We ended up closing it temporarily. We're looking for a new location for that one.
Okay.
We went through Cloud Kitchens for that space. Are you familiar with Cloud Kitchens?
It's a ghost kitchen.
It's a ghost kitchen.
Yeah.
And ran into a lot of issues, not so much with the Cloud Kitchen space, but more with the way that DoorDash and Uber categorize you as being inside that space.
How do they categorize you?
As a virtual kitchen.
Okay. And why is
So-
that an issue?
It's an issue because when you're listed as virtual, you get dropped lower on the overall real estate of DoorDash and Uber
Why is that the case?
because they think you're a virtual kitchen. You're working out of not a true, a true brick and mortar per se. in reality, I mean, to me, I look at them, they're essentially office suites, fully built out as kitchens. Everybody else is like, oh, virtual kitchen must be, Steve in his apartment making pizzas from Costco.
Yeah.
So, you don't get ranked as high, even with, when you're spending the money for the marketing, you're down here. It took us about 7 months, I think, to get out of that bucket and to be listed as an actual restaurant. We're not a ghost kitchen. We don't have 25 different brands. We only make pizza.
Got it. So, I mean, in terms of ghost kitchens, cloud kitchens, what do we need to know?
Well, for starters, cloud kitchens are that ghost kitchen bucket that you fall into is really based upon address. So what we ran into is because of our address is how we got stuck in that bucket. It took us about 7 months to get Uber and DoorDash to recognize this as being an actual brick and mortar, even though we're just we're in this thing. So that helped. In that particular location we rented, though, it was on a cul-de-sac in an industrial park with a church as the destination at the end of the cul-de-sac.
Oh.
And we're not allowed to have any kind of signage outside the building. So it's literally, if you can imagine, an industrial building with a doorway and a little tiny glass thing that says, food hub or something like that. So it's different than being at like a brick and mortar inside of a shopping center where you have people walking by and they can see the sign pizza across the top. So we didn't really get any traction in that location.
So it wasn't. You could have done pickup, is what I'm hearing.
We did pick up. We did delivery,
but not successfully.
Okay. So really, for that was a brand new location they had just built. It didn't have a lot of traction. They didn't have a lot of people that ended up renting the space, and so there wasn't a lot of just people coming by.
So this is your second location, Oceanside, was cloud kitchen, closed temporarily. Where was the third location?
Third location, we went into Charlotte, North Carolina, and that was a licensee.
Okay. How many total locations did you grow to at one point?
We had,
original,
one,
Oceanside,
2, 3,
Charlotte.
5.
Where was when did you do Charlotte? What year was that?
Charlotte was he opened up about 6 months ago.
Okay, so from that third location to
Long Beach, California.
So you've opened an additional 3 in the past 6 months.
Long Beach, Charlotte, yes.
Okay. Where was location number 4, 5, and 6?
So 3 was Long Beach, 4 was Tempe. Is that right? Ramona, Oceanside. Briefly in Philly. Philly was a disaster. Too far away.
Charlotte's not too far away.
Charlotte's run by a licensee that's there every single day. Trying to run Oceanside and Philly as a company-owned store when it's not right here next to me means that you get the employees who are there for a job or not show up for the job. A lot of the same issues that we've had even just running Ramona.
Okay, so original Ramona, 2019, 2023, Oceanside, and then 6 months ago was your third location, Charlotte, and then you have Long Beach.
We have Long Beach licensee.
Was that right after Charlotte?
Yes,
and then Philly, and now Tempe. Okay, So when you went with Oceanside, was that franchised?
That was corporate owned.
So you have
company owned.
So you have a company-owned licensee, and you do franchise, too.
Licensee and franchise are kind of the same. I don't like franchises.
So, so you use licensee and franchise interchangeably?
Correct.
What's the major difference between those two things?
The licensee really is for the franchise, we'd have to go through a whole bunch of franchise, certification, disclosures, all of that other stuff.
Why don't you like franchises?
I just don't like someone telling you how to run your business. Like
you had a negative experience.
At the other place. So a licensee, they will generally follow our direction, but they kind of veer off and do their own thing. They still have to pay me a licensing fee every year for the amount against their sales.
So what are they actually paying the license for? Is it the recipes and the process?
Recipes, process, training, ongoing support, the platforms that we use. guiding them into the whole automation process. So as they reach certain volume bands, we start replacing what they have inside their restaurant with automation.
So when you went with your so Ramona, Oceanside, Charlotte, then Long Beach, is that the order, or was it Oceanside then
We
Long
did
Beach?
Oceanside, Philly, Charlotte,
Oh, okay,
Long Beach, Tempe.
got it. So Oceanside, Charlotte, Philly, Long Beach. Did I get that right? Sorry.
Oceanside, Philly,
Then Charlotte.
then Charlotte.
No, sorry, you said Philly. Yeah, then Charlotte.
Yeah, so Charlotte is when we veered off or made the pivot to do licensing.
So you basically learned your lesson with Philly, and you say the next time we do this, we don't want to do franchise.
We don't want to do
licensing.
company-owned stores. We want to do licenses.
Okay. I am curious. Why were you choosing to go to all these different markets? Why not start more locally and do like centrifugal growth?
Yeah, they were based upon different opportunities that we were presented with. So people who were interested in running those locations.
How'd you find these people?
So I told you I used to run the largest organization for drivers or
Orange
for
Cart.
fleets. Orange Crate.
I did it on purpose that time.
There you go. Sure you did, but it's okay. So pretty much everybody that has signed up so far knows me from my past lifetime,
Got it.
and so they want to try this as having done restaurant delivery for years.
What was it about Philly that made it a disaster?
It was who I chose to partner with out there.
Okay. Did you learn about that process of selection? Without getting too personal, I know it's weird.
Yeah, it's just I put my trust in somebody that maybe wasn't as invested in what I wanted to do as
Different vision. Okay. I see that this is kind of where like the power of a franchise comes in, right?
Yeah.
Because now there can be too much room. Like,
Right.
I don't know what the right answer is, but
Right.
there's pros and cons to everything I've found. Like, there's usually a balance of something, which it sounds like your balance was licensing.
Right.
So, so Philly, that didn't go very well. Charlotte was the next location. What did you do differently? What did you learn, and how did that implement a different approach?
What up, unstoppable restaurant owners and operators? We have to interrupt today's video to let you know that Restaurant Unstoppable and Restaurant Systems Pro, we're taking our relationship to the next level. Beginning in July of 2024, Fred Langley, CEO of Restaurant Systems Pro, is making himself available once a week in Restaurant Unstoppable Network to answer all of your restaurant systems questions, whether it's be profit margins. He will look at your P&L. Bring your P&L. He will take a look at that. He will dissect it. He will help you find your profit, whether that be through budgeting, inventory management, costing recipe cards, labor, checklists, you name it. He is a master of restaurant systems, and he's making himself available to you. Fred Langley and Restaurant Systems Pro started as a consulting firm, and for over 16 years, they've been helping their clients increase their profit by 10% or more. What are you waiting for? Click the link below to join our Facebook group, Restaurant Unstoppable Network.
Charlotte, we went in. We don't start with automation right off the bat.
Okay.
So we're looking to essentially build a startup pizzeria using the equipment at hand. Like, you don't need a conveyor oven when you're only doing, 25 pizzas a day, or you don't need a picnic if you're doing less than 200 or 300 pies per day.
Okay.
So really we start you out with, this is how we build it, and then as you hit certain volumes, we upgrade that equipment, or we show you what equipment that you need to get. And that's kind of an ever-evolving landscape right now, because we're headed into where I think will be probably some of the most interesting automation for making pizzas as we head into 2025.
So you're looking to, you've already traded in your picnic. You're done with the picnic.
I'm done with version 1 of the picnic.
Okay. So all of your pizza locations aren't using picnic right now.
Nobody's using picnic at the moment.
You're just doing manual.
We're doing manual right now.
And version 2 of picnic is coming out.
Version 2 is out, but none of the locations that we have yet have enough volume to justify having that large of a piece of equipment in
So
it.
it's a beast in terms of
It's a
volume.
beast. Right.
How many pizzas does this thing do an hour? The last one did 1,000 an hour.
No, it does 100, about 100 an
pizzas.
hour.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's
So you
new
call
with it?
like about 400 or 500 per shift.
Okay.
But there's some pretty promising technology that is possibly better than what the Picnic is.
And what's that?
You've got the equipment from Middleby Marshall, their pizza robot that auto sauces, auto cheeses, slices of pepperoni, and then cooks the pizza. So really you've got a one-stop shop as long as you've got the blanks on there. There's interesting technology from a company called Pizza, PZZA.io. So they make a square-shaped pizza, all automated, but this one adds every single topping at the full rated speed.
So really what you're doing is you're hiring people to feed the machine toppings.
Right.
And then does that also cook the pizza?
That also cooks the pizza.
And are they using gas?
What's that?
Are they using gas? Electric?
Electric.
Okay.
Electric. I think the Middleby Marshall. So technically, any of these pieces of equipment can use gas or electric. So they're interchangeable in that regard. Both have automation. Middleby Marshall has an up and down type of thing that pushes the pizza on. The one for pizza just pushes it in, but it's got two rows essentially. So it pushes one in and then goes up and pushes the next one.
So you have Picnic 2.0, Pizza IO.
Right. You got the X Cube or the Pizza Cube. That's kind of like a record player, kind of. So you push the pie in, it spins, drops the sauce, drops the cheese, drops the pepperoni, and spits it out. It's not quite at the same automation level that you would expect to see with anything else because it requires someone to push, pull, whereas the other two pieces of equipment and the Picnic are all run on conveyor.
Okay.
But it also built, so like the Cube is about $45,000 to purchase, about 100 pies an hour. The Picnic's probably about $75,000. The Middleby Marshall is probably about $150,000. The Pizza high-end thing is about probably $200,000. So you've got different price points in there as well.
Which one most interests you?
Middleby Marshall at the
The
moment.
most expensive one.
It's not the most expensive, but
It's up there. What
It's
was that,
up there.
150,000 you said?
yeah, 150 to 175. It really depends. They have a lot of other parts to add to it. So I'm looking like how do you try to configure it. You don't have to have everything that they require.
So you're looking at the backside of this process of the actual pizza making, removing the cook from the equation. But what are you doing on the front end in terms of the ordering? Are you using kiosks?
We use kiosks. We use kiosks from Grubber. We like that technology because we don't have to pay for the hardware. We just pay a per order fee of, I think it's $1. So they ship the equipment, they set it up for you, they manage the menus, and it integrates directly into Toast.
Okay. So it's a hardware is the Grubber.
Correct.
It's also software that integrates with Toast.
Correct.
So why not just use the Toast kiosk?
I don't like the way the Toast kiosk looks.
Okay.
Toast kiosk looks like a monitor hanging off of a desk. I like the more full-featured kiosk
Okay.
that you would expect to see when you walk out. I like when we had, and we tried it, we had that kiosk in the restaurant. A lot of people didn't understand why it was hanging off the table.
I was recently in Phoenix before coming out here, and I had Tony Christophilus on the show from Angie's, previously with Salad and Go. I don't know if you're familiar with that brand. With Angie's, they're using the Toast kiosk, and I have to admit that when I was using it as a guest, it was kind of clunky, and they really weren't leveraging the upsell features that well either.
Right.
I feel like they could have done a way better job with the upselling.
Yeah.
I think that Honeycomb or Honey something out of Philadelphia. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
I think they're using Olo integration, or maybe it was custom. I don't quote me on that, but I was really impressed with some of the features of the kiosk. The ability after like every selection, like right after the selection, do you want extra?
Right.
Do you like also many other people buy this with that?
Right.
Like at every corner, they're upselling you to like go from like a $12 meal to like a $25 meal, like real fast. Does Grubber have those features?
Grubber has some of the upsell, but not quite that level of upsell.
Okay. What other interests do you have relative to kiosks? Who else is doing it well? It sounds like you shop around.
I shop around, but Grubber seems to be the best. I'm trying to think who we tried out. I think we tried one other kiosk before. I don't remember the brand, but I just didn't like the experience. And the Grubber kiosks, I can have them. They stand up. They're on a post, and when people walk in, they understand what it is. Whereas with the Toast, they walked up, they don't know if it's
why is this monitor
exactly
facing
hanging here?
Yeah,
and it doesn't have to be that way. I just don't know why they don't do it any other way.
Do you think Toast would be ahead of it? Because they have.
You would think, but I think Toast does like some things really good and some things mediocre, and I think they'll get there because they're kind of like that jack of all trades. They have everything that you need, but some of it's good, some of it's okay.
Right. So you're using Toast and you're using the Grubber interface.
Right.
Okay. So we haven't talked about Long Beach and Tempe. Any specific lessons there? Are those going well?
They're going well. In the end, I think will end up being a franchise version of a license somehow, with maybe not as much. I don't know. I see like when I'm working with the licensees are a little frustrating because they are not locked into what a franchise is. They kind of meander and do their own thing, and it's frustrating.
So the reason why you like licenses is the same reason why you don't like it.
Exactly.
Strengths, and like your strengths are also your weaknesses.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, when I first started this podcast, I was very anti-franchise, very anti-corporate. The more I started talking to people, the more I started realizing that, there are benefits to these models. Mm-hmm. It creates opportunity. The truth, I'm a visionary kind of person. I'm a dreamer. I live in the clouds. I'm the rarity. I don't realize that a lot of other people want to know exactly what to do. They want to know what the job done right looks like, and they want to be given KPIs to execute the job. They want structure. They want rigidity. They want to know they're completing the job. And the cool thing about franchises is I think there's more people in the world who want that ability just to execute the job and know they're doing a good job. And when you have a very well organized, well put together, focused brand that has the legs of a franchise to scale with the right people, which is the hardest part, is finding the right people. There's something to be said about using the franchise model to create opportunity for others. I do think that there is a sweet spot in scaling. Like, I don't know what that sweet spot is yet, if I'm being completely honest, but I know that it's not completely evil to be a franchise or a corporation. I do know that.
We'll just have to figure it out.
What are your thoughts on what I just shared?
I think there's a lot of truth in that. I think that the things that I don't like within the franchise could I could figure a way to work around it to some extent. But I agree. I mean, to be just a licensee means you're being more entrepreneurial than you are following our exact formulas. If you followed our exact formulas, I think you would do well. But again, there's too much freedom, I guess, for lack of a better word, that we're seeing in, say, like Long Beach and maybe a little bit inside of Tempe.
Gotcha. All right. Where are you today in terms of, we talked about the fact that you have these locations. We haven't talked at all about AskLucille, and that's really the only other business you have right now, right? Because the Pizza Roboto is the holding company.
Lucille's about going a little bit back to my overall delivery roots. So
when did you start Lucille?
About 3 weeks ago.
Oh wow, this is fresh off the
super fresh. It's thinking about. So when I ran the RMDA, it was about helping the fleets to compete against DoorDash and Uber, and to go get large contracts to help them with deliveries. So, they do restaurant deliveries. They've never done actual parcel deliveries or catering deliveries or anything like that. So it's about finding opportunities for the fleet, and then making money from it, having the drivers go out and do those deliveries. But the problem that we're seeing is it's a race to the bottom for doing deliveries. So a company that might have paid $100 per delivery on a really large catering order might only pay $30 today. So that fleet still has to make that same amount of money that they're used to making, and they still have to pay their driver, and the driver gets screwed basically. So Andrew Martino says, and he's right, the two people that get screwed the most in this equation are the restaurants and the drivers, and they're the ones doing all the work. Restaurants are making the food, DoorDash takes it, drops it, breaks it, has a terrible presentation. They suffer from it. The driver takes the order, has a tip, has some kind of commission for it, and gets shorted somehow. But they're the ones doing the work. So the AskLucille is really about how do we cut out the middleman and make it so that the platform is communicating directly to the driver.
The platform
could be like 7-Eleven. It could be a catering company. It could be something in there, but drivers themselves, they're doing DoorDash and they're making a fraction of what they should be. I mean, how much is the platform paying to the fleet, who then doles it out to the driver?
So when you're saying removing the middleman, you're talking about the third party. So you have.
So I'm talking about. So you're going from the platform. So say you're like 7-Eleven.
Why? Like, could it be a restaurant? Why are you using 7-Eleven?
Could be a restaurant, absolutely.
So it's any
company that needs drivers.
Any retail outlet,
right,
whether it be a restaurant or like a 7-Eleven.
Right.
And you're basically having independent contractors, drivers,
mm-hmm,
and you're creating the platform. So you're cutting out the DoorDashes, the Grubhubs, right, and you're basically saying, we don't need these people. Like, you sign up for our platform and you work for yourself, basically.
Correct. You're a 1099? You are a 1099 in that sense, but you're your own. So how do I help you make a business of one out of it? A micro DSP, delivery service provider. So, I could have a contract where I have to commit to delivering 30,000 widgets per month. How do I get it so that you get the most money possible from the platform? You yourself can't own that contract, but I don't need to take the commission as well as that pay from you. So how do I shrink that so that you make the most possible money? So in some of the tests we've been doing, when we look at like what you would get paid for taking some catering, the catering might pay out like $23, but we can get you paid $53 because we're not going to take that commission that
right,
the platform is paying. You're going to take it yourself, but you're going to incur some of those other fees. So you'll carry your own insurance. You'll carry your own, because doing like food delivery, you're supposed to carry HNOA insurance. That's a pretty costly thing, but you can drive that down over 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 drivers and make that cost come down. But it's really about how do you get the most money out without involving middlemen. And some of the fleets out there, the platform sends it to the aggregator sends it to the fleet sends it to the driver, and so there's two hops in the middle, each taking a chunk. How do I make it so that you can work directly with here, and we just manage the overall contract? So like a whole decentralized driver project.
Do you have people using this today, or are you still building out?
We're still building it out. We're still doing some small internal testing, but feel really good about it.
Do you know Scott Landers out of Figure 8 Consulting?
I do.
Okay, I was gonna say he's somebody who should definitely be on your
Yeah.
radar. How are you? Like, are you consulting them, or how do you know them? Just through conversations?
Through Figure 8.
Okay,
Yeah. No, so the RMDA has been around for quite some time. Probably early 2000 range is when it started. It was a lot of people doing restaurant delivery for restaurants long before DoorDash, before Uber, Grubhub. They would, call the restaurant. They use walkie-talkies. They'll make the deliveries, whatever. It evolves over time. And there's this national association, and it's small. It's like probably 50, 60 companies around the country. Once a year, back in like 2011 to 2015, 2016, they all fly into Vegas. They share war stories. They get drunk. They get on, they wake up the next morning, get on the plane and go home. And that's the end. That's the extent of the entire organization. I have Orange Crate. I go to one of those conferences. This really sucks. Like, I paid $500 so I could get drunk, in Vegas. So I go to the board and I'm like, I want to do more, or you should be doing more, really. And they're like, if you want to see it do better, join the board. So I joined the board. It's a 2-year stint. Everybody kind of quits. They all sold their companies or whatever, but there's a lot of board seats open. I get a bunch of the other folks that I know that are in my same industry, and I get them to join the board. And we say, we want to do something different for this next conference. So this was 18, 19, 20, maybe 2017 or 2018. I don't remember exactly when. 2019. I think it's 2019. We did our first conference in Austin, and we brought in speakers. We brought in industry people, software providers, and we held our first conference in Austin, and it was maybe like 100 people, 1,000 square feet. And then 2020 is COVID, so we can't have a conference. 2021, we have the conference. It's in Boulder. Now we're in about 3,000 square feet. We've got probably 15 vendors coming. 2022, we go to Nashville. Now we're in 25,000 square feet. We're at, 30 or 40 vendors. We're bringing in, larger name speakers. I think we had Josh Copel came in. We had Dennis Yu, lots of different, higher up folks. So we're trying to teach them not just about doing delivery, but how to market yourself, how to prepare yourself financially, how to do all the right things as you build your business. 2023, we go to Salt Lake City. Now we're at maybe it was 20,000 square feet in Nashville, 30,000 square feet in Salt Lake City. We have Sean Walchef. That's where I met him for the first time. I actually met him a couple months before then, but we had that thing, and it's getting bigger and bigger. My vision was really bring all the fleets together. So one API, one voice, one point of contact, and let's go get some really big contracts and let's just deliver for them. So the first contract I sold was EasyCater. And so we set it up so that our fleets under one API would take those orders and we would deliver them and, get them taken care of. And that's really kind of where it was. I left the board in 2023, so April of last year. The board kind of changed, and they had kind of a whole different direction about bringing it back to, being more local. But the whole organization just kind of grew and evolved from let's get drunk once a year to how do we teach everybody to be more. Yeah. So AskLucille is almost about now that things have changed, like those early contracts paid very well, but they don't pay as well now because everyone's trying to squeeze out. There's more competition, whatever. So how do we make that happen? And it's really about empowering the drivers to become their own micro DSPs instead of relying on somebody to pay them, because every hop in there takes away a chunk of money from the driver before the driver gets it.
I mean, as somebody who drove Uber, it's pretty easy to become an Uber driver. So you mentioned the insurance. What else would the driver have to be liable for to become one of these drivers? It's
really just about having the right gear, having the right mindset, having the right insurance. So depending on how,
gear,
a heat bag, so that when you get the food, it stays warm or it stays cold, however it's supposed to get there. Half the time, drivers from and I see it with DoorDash. They walk in, they take your pie. There's no bag or anything that goes with it. They deliver it to the customer. They toss it on the front, step, and they walk away from it, and that's it. And they get $3 for that. But I'm going to make sure you get the most money. So if I could pay you or get you $20 from this contract that exists, would you do a better job with it? Is it some instruction you need on how to deliver?
Are there higher standards on becoming a driver in this network, maybe?
Yeah. So, but without adding lots of different people in the process. With where we are with AI, it's easy to onboard a driver using AI. It's easy to inject him into the software using AI. You don't have all these other people that you need to take that money from the middleman in order to, cover the cost to the driver.
We've kind of to the point now where we covered where you're at today, present time. You've laid it out for us, your evolution along the way. Where are you going? What's the future of the industry looking like? What are you doing intentionally to be ready for that future?
Yeah, I'm really just kind of exploring more where this is all going. Like I said, I really think 2025 is where we really start to see the future of automation and food. There's a lot of cool technology that's coming out. You've got the salad equipment from Subotica. You've got the version 2.0 of the Picnic, the stuff from Middleby Marshall, the stuff from Pizza. There's some other cool things.
What is it? Spiced out of Boston. That what was that? My brain's starting to shut off. I've been up since 5 a.m. It's 8 o'clock right now. It's Sweet Green or something invested in like spice, where it's like the induction burners that like rotate.
Right. Yeah.
That dump. Is that similar to what you were talking about?
Yeah.
The salad place.
Yeah. So with Subotica, they've got like this little bowl thing that falls on a track, but their claim to fame really is precise, very, very precise weights of whatever drops into that bowl. And then it's got kind of like an upper salad deck, so you can customize at the same time.
Okay.
While that's running through there. So there's a lot of cool tech coming.
Yeah, I liked what salad or what now Angie's Prime is using. It's the double side grill. So they have a grill, like a flat top griddle, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they have you put the meat on, the proteins on, and then like the top, like you set a timer and the top comes down,
right?
And grills it from both sides. So it's only grilling for like a minute and a half, maybe like 90 seconds for like steak,
right?
And they got the timing, and it's all about how thick you cut it, right? And like that will determine the consistency. So like they're automating everything. So like now you just throw the protein on, you hit a button, and it cooks a perfect medium rare every time.
That's awesome. Now there's another one that's they came from the automotive automation side of things. So they built this whole thing that again takes the proteins and then cooks it in like a circle. So it goes everything, cooks front and back simultaneously, or flips it somewhere in the middle of it. I want to say, pretty inexpensive overall, maybe $20,000 to buy it. But again, I mean, really cool technology that's coming down the pipeline that'll help restaurants. Won't help jobs necessarily, unless you're here to learn how to fix it, how to maintain it. But there's just really cool stuff coming into 2025.
Lots of engineering jobs.
Yes, lots of engineering
designing
jobs.
and creating up with better ways to do it.
Right. Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see where that goes. I mean, is there anything? So, like one question I've been playing around with, I used to ask, like, what's broken with the industry, and what can we do to be better about fixing what's broken with the industry? And I think I want to start like asking this question that's along the lines of like, what's broken with the world we live in today, that the restaurant industry can be a part of the solution.
I don't know. It's a loaded question. There's a lot of things, but for me, what's broken is really labor, cost of labor, and how it impacts restaurants, and how do restaurants work around that. And I really think it ends up being automation based.
I mean, is the issue with the cost of labor, or is it the fact that the consumer isn't willing to pay what it costs to take care of our employees?
I don't know.
Yeah. I struggle with that one because I feel like people should be able to go to work, be a full-time employee, and be able to like find security, minimum, have security in life, a sense of security.
Right.
Like I can take care of myself. I don't have to live a lavish lifestyle, but I should be able to, if I get sick, I should be able to feed my children. I should be able to cover my most simple liabilities without stressing out every week. I don't think that's too much to ask. But in order to do that, we got to start charging more. Right. And I think the consumer needs to know that, like, hey, listen, like, where are you putting your money? Is it in a new Gucci bag? Like, is it a new Tesla? Like, are you driving the fanciest things, having like, how big is your house? Like, what's really important? I think there's a fundamental issue with values in society.
Yeah, I think that's true. And really, I mean, even along that vein, I mean, the cost of everything's gone up so substantially. Like even, for here in San Diego, the cost to buy a house here starts at $900,000.
Right.
You aren't going to make that at that $20 an hour wage, even with the change. And you've got that with at least in California, the state assembly is now talking about a $35 an hour minimum wage.
There's a lot of people that live in California that $900,000 is a drop in the bucket.
Right.
Where's that money going?
Yeah.
Like, how many yachts do you got? You know what I'm saying?
How many yachts do you have?
Not you, but I'm saying that I don't know, man. I feel like a lot of the money in Silicon Valley could go back to different things.
100%.
You know, and then I think it's some of these big typhoon type companies that are shipping a lot of money overseas of like labor, you know, like they're the worst offenders when it comes to not keeping the money in the country.
Right.
So like, I don't know, like I just wonder, like, to me, like that's the kind of stuff I'm like, how can we be more conscious? And I don't have the answers, man, but I just feel like it's a matter of like waking up a little bit. You know? I want to learn more about this stuff. I don't expect you to have the answers either, but I think it's important that we start asking these questions. So in terms of who you are today, you got into the world of owning restaurants in 2019. It was 5 years ago, but you've been a part of the food and beverage world since 2015. So how have you personally transformed? Our mission statement is to change the world through inspiring, empowering, and transforming the industry. So how have you personally transformed in your time in the industry?
In my time, and this was taught to me by Sean Walchef when I first met him, was really, talking and sharing my story. So everything that I do, I write about on LinkedIn. It's the only platform I'm really on. I've dabbled on some of the other platforms. There's not enough time in my day for it. So everything that I learn, the good, the bad, the ugly, I write about on LinkedIn. I don't have many followers, maybe 5,000, 5,500, somewhere around there. But I like sharing what I learn. And the hope is that what I've learned, the things that I see and do, that another restaurant could just kind of step in my shoes from where I am and not buy that tech or not buy that type of thing, and just keep moving this whole idea forward.
Yeah, I do think there's a transformation happening in the industry now where people are more willing than ever before within our industry to share knowledge, where it used to be a lot more guarded information.
Right.
I think that's one thing that has to change, is we had to start, if the industry is going to improve, it's going to come from the inside out.
Right.
So what is one thing about your business's process, values, systems, culture that makes you truly unstoppable?
Just that constant learning.
Yeah.
You just got to keep on learning, and sharing where you can.
This is the last question. It's a doozy.
Really? There's the last one?
Yeah, I got a lot of eye rolls with this one, so be ready for it. If you got the news, you'd be leaving this world tomorrow. All the memories of you, your work, and your restaurants would be lost with your departure, with the exception of 3 pieces of wisdom that you could leave behind for your legacy and the good of humanity. What would those 3 pieces of wisdom be?
Never give up.
1.
Keep on learning.
2.
Make time for family.
3. This has been a lot of fun, man. Thank you so much for, again, I think it was less than 2 hours from the time that Sean said I should talk to you to me sitting here. I think this is the power of showing up in person and networking and letting word of mouth. Like, things just happen so much faster when you show up in person. So you're making me feel like I'm doing the right thing right now. It was a great conversation. If we want to follow up this conversation, well, first, let me have you call somebody out. Who do you respect and admire in the industry?
Let me make sure I get his name right. I would say Today Gazalian, if I pronounce his last name right.
What's his business?
He runs a cafe up in LA called Dialogue.
Okay.
He uses a mixture of robotics for delivery and just straight up, great customer service, great support. Probably does close to 1,000 orders a day, if I had to guess.
Do you know the name of his business?
Dialogue Cafe.
Oh, that's right. You just said that. I'm sorry. I'm literally starting to fade. Dialogue.
Did you need the LinkedIn?
Cafe. I just did a little Google search real quick just to see if I can find it. They're based in L.A., West Hollywood.
TADEH. Yep.
Yeah, got it right here. Cool. I'm not gonna try to say the name either, but look out, I'm coming after you. I'll try to get you on the show. And how can we connect with you if we want to continue the conversation?
Follow me on LinkedIn. I'm linkedin.com/in/ I think it's Pizza Robot.
Yeah. And whatever you're listening to this podcast on, whether it be iTunes or Spotify, just in the player, there's going to be notes. If you scroll down, we'll have a link to how to connect with Andrew right there for you. So you don't have to remember how to do that. We'll link right to your LinkedIn. Andrew, thank you so much, man, for taking the time to answer my crazy questions, to get vulnerable, to open up, and to be a part of the solution. Man, there is no questioning. You are unstoppable.
Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers.